Aye, and once you're done in the kitchen, go and clean up the cellar. The spiders have made a nest down there. A big one, too. They're crawling everywhere. Master David, nice of you to grace us with your presence.
I appreciate your patience.
I've had the staff prepare some of the finest Scottish delicacies for you. Black pudding, haggis, scrambled eggs with deer brain, and bacon. I shot the deer myself, in the local woods.
Mother was never a fan of dishes made from entrails. In this case, she'd be missing out.
That was delicious. Thank you.
I'm sure our local specialities must seem peculiar to one raised as you were.
I was raised in India. My spectrum of peculiar has quite a range.
Yes, Master David?
You've worked for the family all your life?
Yes, Master David. Saved my time serving in Swaziland.
You served in South Africa?
Oh, indeed, sir. During the Boer War. But Sir Edward intervened and I was able to return unharmed from that most futile conflict.
May I ask, the maid, she seems nervous, almost afraid of me.
She's afraid of everything.
You don't think much of her?
I do not, sir. And, if I may be so bold, one of Lady Gordon's earrings has gone missing.
You suspect the maid?
Not my place to say, Master David.
Yet I think you just did say. If I gave him the earring, he'd use it as an excuse to torment the maid. Not that I'd ever gain his trust. He's clearly loyal to Lady Margaret.
How many staff are there?
Nowadays, only myself, the maid, and Rory the gardener. I suppose you could include the lawyer, too, if that is work.
Not many for such a big house.
If you felt like hiring more staff, I would not complain, sir. But of course, not everyone is suited to work in this house.
Well, good day to you.
Indeed, sir.
Elsa knows more about my father than she dares tell me. I'd better earn her trust now. She might return to the village once the weather clears. This'll make it easier to carry. The boy. It must be. But I need to be sure. Perhaps the names are on the bag. My family. Yet they're all still strangers to me. Lady Margaret. She looks happy. I can't imagine her smiling like that these days. Grandfather Edward. Just as he looked last night. The boy. How did he provoke Edward into throwing him down the stairs? What's this? Looks like it's drawn in blood? Regardless of what I told Miss Crannan, these visions are like nothing I've ever experienced before, and they're getting worse. A sign of modernity, even in ancient houses like this. A sign of modernity, even in ancient houses like this.
David, apologies for not being here to greet you. As the telephone in the castle is not working due to the recent storm, I have had to journey to the village to communicate with my office. Upon my return, I shall show you to the chapel where you can pay your respects to your father. Yours, Andrew Harrison.
Or maybe I'll just head to the chapel myself, just as soon as the weather clears. Smoking a pipe? I thought that would be beneath her station.
Lady Margaret.
David?
May I first apologize for my strange behavior last night? It's just that...
Think nothing of it. You are obviously tired from your travels. Least said, soonest mended.
I saw an old photograph of a boy in the other room.
Something tells me she wouldn't be happy if she knew I had it in my pocket.
That was taken in 1894. Young Johnny, your father.
You can remember the exact year.
It's a funny thing when you reach my age. You can remember dates from decades ago.
But not what you had for breakfast.
Maybe others can't.
Who, may I ask, were the others in the picture?
That would be your Aunt Clara and your late great-grandmother, the last true Countess of Scahandew House. And my dear Edward, of course.
I noticed my father had a scar on his face. How did that happen?
Falling from a tree, perhaps? I can't recall. But your father was a clumsy child.
Can't recall. But you remember the date the photograph was taken?
What kind of man was my grandfather?
Oh, he was magnificent. He was handsome, so handsome, and caring.
Caring enough to knock a defenseless child down the stairs.
All was so very different when he was around.
The maid. She seemed to be acting strangely, like she was frightened of me.
Yes, well, she's a simple sort, that one. She has probably heard of the curse of the Gordons the locals like to whisper about.
Curse? What curse?
Just a peasant superstition. I would guess she was worried you'd show the same displays of unpredictable violence as your father did.
I never knew my father to be the violent type.
Oh, there are many things you do not know about your father. This is his doing.
What? But how?
I'd rather not discuss it, David. And that maid should really keep her mouth shut and locate the earring she lost. She's like a magpie with shiny, expensive things.
I could give it to her, and she'd still never tell me anything useful about my father or the secrets of this place. But the maid? I could use this to earn her trust.
This may seem like an unusual question.
I'd be surprised if it wasn't, dear boy.
Have I ever been here before? Is it possible I visited as a child and can no longer remember?
Oh, no. You are a stranger to these walls.
And I have a feeling you prefer it stayed that way.
I shall take my leave, Lady Margaret.
Yes. Oh, and David, the master of the house needs to respect the privacy of those under his roof. Even your father understood that. Sometimes a cabinet is locked for a reason.
I was looking for some documents and Andrew had already gone to bed.
I would still appreciate you respecting the rules of this house. You're not its owner quite yet.
Miss Crannan? Isn't that used for transporting cooked food? Why is there blood in it?
Ugh, the wee scunner thought it would be funny to put one of his dead beasties in it to fear me. He should keep them in the cellar and... Sorry, sir. I'm speaking out of turn.
Did you ever talk to my father?
I was serving here when he... That is to say,
Go on, please.
I didn't think it'd be proper, sir. Lady Margaret said... Oh, sorry, sir. I must get on with my work.
She's as scared of Margaret as she is of the butler. Poor girl.
You said my father saw things.
I don't want to talk about it, sir.
I noticed the attic door is locked.
You'd best ask Angus, sir. I hardly go up there.
The mere mention of the attic terrified her. What is in there?
I think you may have lost this.
Oh, sir! Oh, thank you, sir. I only wanted to see how it looked in the mirror. I didn't mean to. I was scared to tell her ladyship. Oh, she can have such a temper.
What are you going to do now?
If I can sneak it into the salon, maybe her ladyship will think she lost it there herself.
From what I know about her, I very much doubt her ladyship will.
What happened to my father here?
I'm sorry, sir. You're not like the rest of them here. Oh, sir, there's things you should know, but I really need this job.
She knows something, but how can I convince her to trust me?
Would you like me to escort you to the cellar?
Wouldn't be proper to ask the owner of the house to do that, sir.
Well, I'm not the owner yet, and you didn't ask.
Very kind of you, sir.
Happy to help. I'll let you know when I'm ready to accompany you down there. I shall leave you to your work. Shall we?
Let's see what we can find down here. Raw spirit. Not particularly palatable, but good for cleaning. And magic tricks. The water of life. Some of these whiskies are from local distilleries.
Looks fresh.
Master Eddie's work. He and Mr. McKinnon put it here earlier. Poor beastie.
Eddie. Another family member I've yet to meet. Ooh, a lot of blood for just one animal. How cruel of Mr. McKinnon to send her down here alone.
Step right up.
Sir? What are you... Oh my! Oh, that's amazing! Does that not hurt?
No, a little trick I learned in India.
Sorry. Did that scare you, Elsa? I didn't think... Huh.
And you are?
Edward Mallory. You may call me Edward III.
So this is Cousin Eddie. He seems
Welcome to my castle.
as terrible as the rest of them. My castle indeed.
Pleased to meet you, Eddie. So, your parents would be my aunt and uncle Clara and Victor. Are they...
Dead. Dead as doornails, the pair of them.
Lovely. You've lived here all your life, so you would have met my father.
Only after he lost what marbles he had left. If it were up to me, I'd have locked him up in the loony bin a bit sooner.
Locked him up?
So what are you doing down here anyway?
There's a line between honesty and rudeness that Cousin Eddie doesn't seem to recognize.
I was helping Miss Crannan.
Oh, why didn't you ask me?
Excuse me, sir. Sirs, I really have to go.
Leaving so soon? Was it something I said? They all tend to act like that in the presence of nobility.
You said something about a loony bin?
I did. Oh, you don't know.
Well,
Well, never you mind. I have an animal to prepare.
I'm getting very tired of everyone in this house avoiding my questions.
There's something you should know, sir. Something important. I overheard them talking, and
You're paid to work, not chat. Get to it, girl.
Sorry, Mr. McKinnon. Library, after dinner.
At last, I might get some answers. Finally, some fresh air.
Master David.
you could tell it was me.
Your footsteps. I ken the walk of everyone here.
Well, that's rather incredible.
Aye, that it is, laddie. That it is. I hear better than most. See more than most and all.
Father had a similar toolbox, back when he still fixed things around the house.
When you talked about what they did to my father, what did you mean?
You shouldn't have come back. You canna go through what he did as a bairn and no be sick.
So his hospitalization was justified then?
Not for me to say. Before you think of putting down roots here, you should think on what the poison grown here did to your father. You ken?
No, not really.
If you dinna mind, this door'll no mend itself.
I'll leave you to it then.
Must be hard to look after the plants when you can barely see them. A steady enough vessel, if you trust your swimming skills. Nobody left to mourn the dead or care for their graves, it seems. I've seen this before. In the painting. This is the grave I saw in that waking dream or whatever it was. The grave my father buried something in as a boy. Who's buried here? If I could just... these vines are too thick. I need something to cut through these. Locked with a padlock. Andrew will have a key, but I'm not keen on waiting for his return. Rory's tools. A hammer, a tenon saw, a bolt cutter. All a bit rusty, but in good order.
You wouldn't have to have a chapel key, would you?
Ain't set a foot in there for years, and I don't intend to either.
That'll be a no, then. The graveyard. Is it a family plot?
Aye. No matter how high and mighty, all the Gordons end up there.
A cheery thought. It's a shame we don't have the means to properly care for the graves.
Why bother? His bones and food for worms.
May I borrow your bolt cutter?
Maybe. If I ken what you need it for.
The graves. I would like to tidy them up. That way I can pay my respects properly.
Is that a fact? Why's that then?
They are my family. They deserve to be remembered.
Fair enough, laddie. Just grab it yourself, will ye?
Better. Cecilia Shaw Nee Gordon. Aunt Cecilia. Now, let's see if there's something really buried in here. Another piece of the castle model. Another part of the model, and it's stained with what seems to be old blood. Why did Father bury this when he was a child? How could I have known that something was buried here? I don't remember Father ever telling me about this grave. Father must have buried the chapel piece here for a reason when he was a boy. But why? And whose blood is it stained with? Father, I hope you found your peace. Were you sick, like they say you were? Or the victim of this curse? This curse of the Gordons? Whatever it is, I think you may have passed it on to me. being the chronicle of the family Gordon, as laid down by Sir Drummond Gordon, the year of our Lord, 1413.
Local legend speaks of this particular glen as being inhabited from time immemorial. Enigmatic, elaborately carved Pictish stones stand as timeless evidence of this. As for the locals, they appear prideful of the counsel they delight in giving to visitors. Traveler, beware. The Celtic peoples arrived in this place like a great beast, bringing with them the bloodlines that would eventually spawn the Gordon clan. Using their superior numbers, knowledge, and machines of war, they swiftly conquered the primeval Picts. With them, they brought too their religion and druid clerics. The magics these wise men used did shape forever the lands, even until this present day. It is said that the sempiternal burden our family carries rose at that time. 'Tis well recorded how the Empire of Rome did fail to tame the wayward Scots, that they did even raise a barrier to protect their mighty empire. What is seldom told is the truth behind their defeat. Our ancestors drew upon ancient powers to aid their victory, powers not easily fathomed by the fragile human mind. This aid did come at the greatest of costs. A debt as yet unsettled, a price we will continue to pay until the last Gordon passes to dust. For the centuries, we Gordons made the land our own. Others did bow to us, as we kept the secrets of Scahanduch, the secrets of the Black Mirror. Even as tragedy and madness did fester in our foundations, we held fast and steered the land through vile English attack and worse. In time, the Gordons and the land became one.
Some pages have been ripped out. The only thing left seems to be some kind of family oath.
In blood we are bound to the land we protect. To the truths we alone may conceal. I shall forfeit my life. Lest my clan should suffer, I shall forfeit my spirit to hold the darkness at bay. In blood we are bound till the day of the reckoning.
What on earth? Where's the call coming from? Is this what madness feels like? It can't be real. All this looks like the bottom of a lake. What are you trying to show me? She's not holding a baby, but some heavy object to weigh herself down. There's a fresh wound across her stomach. The figure up there must be Edward. A note. I'm taking my baby with me to save it from this rotten family.
Find my child! Are you all right?
Did you see her? She drowned.
Calm down, you're in shock. What were you doing clambering about in here?
If I told you, you'd think me mad.
Odd. That is just what your father said to me.
What? Who are you?
My name is Dr. Leah Farber. I treated your father at the asylum.
The asylum?
Let's get you back to the castle and make sure you are all right.
What did you come here for?
I'm not sure your father's story is finished yet, and there are some things I still need to make my peace with.
What's this about an asylum?
As I said, your father was admitted.
Why? Who did that to him?
I did. But unfortunately, he managed to escape.
What? Hold on a minute. How dare you come in here and...
Told you? Your father was a madman. A complete and utter madman. Don't mind me. Please continue.
Well, what right did you have to lock my father up in a madhouse?
I was his doctor. I understand you are in shock, but you have no right to speak to me in such a way. I was trying to help him.
He's dead. Capital job.
Now, hold on just a minute.
Oh, Jesus! Oh, no! No!
Eddie, it'll be all right. Pull yourself together.
I suggest nobody else goes down there. We should keep the room intact until the police can get here.
I shall alert them first thing in the morning. What an unfortunate accident.
An accident? You think so? Just after the madman's son turned up at our door?
And yet you were the one standing over her body with blood on your hands.
How dare you! I was too late! I was trying to help her, she...
There, my sweet boy. Let's get you to bed. Angus, would you?
Of course, ma'am.
I think we will all benefit from a good night's sleep.
I know you may have no reason to, but I need you to trust me. I'm the only one on your side when it comes to your father's death.
Lady Margaret certainly isn't. But if I told you what I saw in the chapel, you'd have me in a padded cell, just like my father. Why did you come here? To make sure my father was successfully in the ground?
With all due respect, Mr. Gordon, I will not allow you to speak to me or about my work in such a tone. I tried everything I could to aid your father. Your father was heavily drugged when he was brought to me, to prevent any further violent outburst, or so Lady Margaret had said. But something felt wrong, even then.
So, what was my father like when you locked him up?
I didn't just lock him up. I tried to help him. He was convinced he was carrying some ancient curse, that he was being haunted by evil. I wish I had reached him, had been able to reach him.
Maybe if I threw you a bone, you'd get off my back. Father was obsessed with the history of the family for as long as I can remember.
Did your father actually believe his family was out to get him?
Who knows? I think what scared him was beyond the physical. He used to babble about a dark force threatening him and our family.
Was that why he moved you to India? To get as far away as possible?
I believe so.
And yet, here you are, in the very place he sought to protect you from.
Who knows? Maybe there is an ancient evil in this place. An evil that drags us back no matter how far away we get. Even from the other side of the world.
And what do you think? Was your father right? Are there things beyond the physical?
He was a disturbed man. He saw things that weren't there. Things like a drowning woman floating in thin air. If you really want to help me, then let us find out what the maid knew. She was hiding something, but was too scared of Angus and Margaret to tell me.
You think whatever she wanted to confide might be connected to her death?
Maybe. Whatever I saw in the chapel, it has to be real. It has to be. A woman must have drowned herself in the loch. Because if it's all in my mind, like father, like son.